Sometimes the earth remembers even when people forget. It begins so quietly, so subtly, that no historian, no scholar, no emperor could have imagined what would come next. In a small village in Sichuan province, in the spring of 1929, a farmer named Yan Daocheng stood ankle-deep in mud in his fields. He was digging a new irrigation ditch to channel river water to his crops. But as his shovel struck the ground, he felt an unusual resistance, a peculiar clink that was neither soil nor stone. He wiped away the dirt and found something gleaming faintly in the sunlight. It was a jade blade, impossibly smooth and impossibly old. Villagers gathered. Further excavation revealed bronze, gold, jade, and fragments of something far more ancient than anyone had imagined. The villagers took what they could, never suspecting they were holding the first clues to a lost kingdom. News spread by word of mouth, not through official channels. But when archaeologists finally arrived, they witnessed something extraordinary. Objects that resembled nothing in recorded Chinese history. The style was foreign. The craftsmanship surpassed local traditions. The forms and symbols appeared in no dynasty's written annals. This should not have been possible. China was a civilization known for meticulous record-keeping, yet it knew neither the name of this place, nor the names of these people, nor any legends about the faces carved in bronze and gold. How could an entire Bronze Age kingdom vanish completely, leaving not a single written word? Here begins the story. A farmer, a shovel, a forgotten ditch, and the earth, revealing something buried beneath 3,000 years of silence. The secrets of history do not always surrender easily. For decades, the mysterious artifacts were scattered, sold, and forgotten. Fate intervened again in 1986, when routine construction work resumed in the same area. Two laborers noticed a strange smell rising from the soil, a sharp, metallic scent that didn't belong to Earth. Their supervisor called archaeologists, who expected to find nothing more than ancient pottery. Instead, they discovered Pit 1 and Pit 2, two sacrificial pits filled with treasures unlike anything China had ever seen. The excavation team stood frozen as the first bronze masks emerged from the dust. These were not Shang bronzes, they were not Zhou. They belonged to no known dynasty, no recorded kingdom, no established school of art. The metallurgy, the scale of the sculptures, the ritual arrangement, it all pointed to a sophisticated civilization that existed independently of the early dynasties of the Central Plains. This created a problem. Chinese archaeology at the time was still shaped by political narrative. The Yellow River Basin was the geographical center of a continuous, unified Chinese civilization. Sanxingdui fell outside this narrative. Months passed, as authorities debated how much of the discovery should be made public. Some scholars were urged to reinterpret the findings. Others were instructed to remain silent. One truth was now undeniable. Sanxingdui was a civilization that should not have existed, at least, not according to the chronicle of Shang history. They first appeared on the edge of Pit 1, faces unlike anything humanity had seen from the Bronze Age. Bronze masks, over a meter wide, with enormous, bulging eyes that seemed to stare across eternity. Some eyes were tubular, protruding several inches. Others had narrow, predatory slits carved for pupils. The ears were elongated, almost elfin, with decorative lines radiating outward. But the eyes were what disturbed everyone. They were not human, not fully, not anymore. Some masks appeared to be deities frozen mid-whisper, their mouths slightly open. Others held stern, unblinking gazes, faces carved not for beauty, but for command, for ceremony. Who were these beings? Were they rulers, priests, ancestors, gods? No other ancient Chinese culture produced faces like these. They resemble nothing in the vast artistic traditions of the Shang dynasty. Zhou-era burials contain no reference to such iconography. Some archaeologists believe they represent a pantheon of forgotten deities. Others think they are portraits of real people, perhaps priest-kings believed to possess divine sight. Whatever they were, these faces stare at us across 3,000 years, asking one unanswered question. Why did you forget us? Here, the mystery deepens. The bronzes of Sanxingdui are massive, larger than anything other Bronze Age cultures in China could produce. Some statues stand nearly 2 meters tall. The sacred trees discovered later weighed hundreds of kilograms. Such objects should not have been possible according to traditional knowledge of Bronze Age casting. Standard Shang techniques used multiple molds, but at Sanxingdui, lost wax casting was employed, a method not believed to exist in East Asia during this period. Even more remarkable, metallurgical analysis reveals unusual alloy compositions, uncommon tin ratios, traces of arsenic and lead, exceptional purity levels. This combination allowed Sanxingdui artisans to cast delicate, intricate, yet monumental structures without cracking. Some scholars quietly admit the technology surpasses anything the Shang or Zhou dynasties achieved centuries later. This raises a question many prefer not to ask. Where did Sanxingdui's advanced metallurgy come from? Was it independent innovation? Or were they inheritors of an even older, unrecorded tradition? Or, as some theories suggest, did later dynasties deliberately bury this knowledge? History prefers simple origins. Sanxingdui is anything but simple. Among the most enigmatic objects unearthed in Pit, one was a gold staff, 142 centimeters long, crafted from nearly pure gold. Its surface bears carvings of mythological creatures, solar symbols, and what appear to be stylized human figures. Nothing like it exists in Chinese iconography. In early China, gold was extremely rare and seldom used in large quantities. But this staff is extravagant, ceremonial, authoritative, official. It suggests a ruler or priest king of immense power, whose name has been completely erased from written history. Some scholars believe the staff symbolized a god king, a mediator between the mortal world and the divine. Others think it was part of elaborate rituals tied to celestial events, yet official interpretations remain cautious. The gold staff raises uncomfortable questions about regional politics, the possible existence of a ruling theocracy, and symbols that do not align with recognized Chinese religious origins. This is why the artifact is frequently displayed but rarely interpreted. Its true meaning might reveal aspects of early Chinese spiritual life that modern authorities prefer to keep obscured. The darkest aspect of Sanxingdui is not the discovery of the objects, but what happened to them. Every item in pits 1 and 2 was intentionally broken, burned, or deformed. Jade pieces were carefully smashed, bronze masks were shattered, ivory was heated until it became brittle, fires burned so hot that some bronzes melted. This was not accidental. This was ritual. But ritual for what? Two dominant theories exist. Ritual closure. The civilization may have performed a religious ceremony, perhaps to seal a sacred site, retire ceremonial objects, or mark a transition to a new political or cosmic era. Deliberate erasure. A darker theory whispers something else, that the people of Sanxingdui destroyed their own culture intentionally before the city was abandoned. Why would a civilization destroy its most sacred objects? Were they concealing them from invaders, purging them before mass migration, or ending their own story so it could not be retold by outsiders? The answers lie buried in ash and silence. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of Sanxingdui is not the bronzes, not the gold, not the shattered pits. It is the absence. In a civilization capable of constructing monumental temples, massive statues, and sophisticated metallurgy, we should expect tombs, burial grounds, skeletal remains, human traces, but none have been found. No definitive Sanxingdui cemetery. The people left no physical trace, as though they stepped off the stage of history into nothingness. Three major theories attempt to explain this. Mass migration. Perhaps environmental changes forced them to relocate. But where did they go, and why leave everything behind? Natural disaster. An earthquake, flood, or drought may have caused sudden departure. Yet this does not explain the ritual destruction in the pits. Undiscovered burial sites. Some believe Sanxingdui burial grounds remain hidden, perhaps under riverbeds or beneath layers too deep for excavation. The silence is deafening. Those who created gods in bronze left no trace of their mortal selves. How and why? Mainstream archaeology offers a neat, convenient answer, one that closes the mystery without disrupting historical accounts. An earthquake. Geological research around the Sichuan Basin indicates major seismic activity around 1200 BCE, coinciding with Sanxingdui's disappearance. Sediment layers show evidence of violent shaking. Riverbeds shifted suddenly. This theory suggests a massive earthquake forced the Min River, the region's lifeblood, to change course. Without water, the city would have died. This explanation appears in museums, textbooks, and tours. It is scientific, safe, and politically neutral, but it has problems. The earthquake theory fails to explain the ritual destruction in the sacrificial pits, the burning, the shattering, the meticulous arrangement of thousands of objects. None of this resembles a panicked evacuation. There are no signs of chaos, no defensive wounds on artifacts, no bodies beneath collapsed structures. If an earthquake destroyed the city, why is the archaeological record so ritualized? Some scholars privately suggest otherwise. Perhaps the disaster was seen as an omen, a divine message interpreted by priests or kings. Perhaps the earthquake triggered a religious transformation, a belief that the gods demanded closure, sacrifice, or departure. In this version, the earthquake was not the cause, but the catalyst. The truth, as with everything about Sanxingdui, does not fit neatly into official narratives. Then came the discovery that pushed Sanxingdui from mystery into myth. In 1986, archaeologists found fragments of what they initially thought were pieces of a massive statue, but as restorers assembled the pieces, they realized they were reconstructing something the world had never seen. a colossal bronze sacred tree. The object stood nearly 4 meters tall, with twisting branches, perched birds, serpents, dragons, and spirals that seemed to map cosmic pathways and divine realms. Nothing like it existed in any other Bronze Age culture, not in China, not in Mesopotamia, not in Egypt. Some branches ended in fruit-like ornaments, others supported mythical animals. Every detail was symbolic, rendered with a complexity that suggested an elaborate cosmology. Most scholars today believe these bronze trees symbolized a world tree, an axis mundi connecting the heavens, the earth, and the underworld. If true, this would mean Sanxingdui possessed a spiritual system far more sophisticated than previously understood, one capable of organizing the universe into layers, realms, and divine hierarchies. But the trees raise deeper questions. How could a Bronze Age society produce sculptures this large, this detailed, this perfectly cast? And why do fragments suggest even larger trees once existed? Some archaeologists whisper that these trees are too advanced, hinting at lost knowledge in metalworking, or perhaps an earlier cultural tradition we have yet to discover. Today, the reconstructed tree stands on display. The rest remains in storage. Certain fragments have never been publicly discussed. The bronze trees hint at something profound. Sanxingdui did not simply create art. They imagined a universe we barely understand. To study Sanxingdui is to enter a religion without scripture, a faith composed only of symbols, masks, and memories cast in bronze. Their art features winged creatures, serpentine bodies, horned faces, and hybrid human-animal forms. Some motifs echo cultures from across Eurasia. Others appear entirely original. Because the civilization left no written records, researchers must interpret meaning from artistic patterns and archaeological context. Some masks bear resemblance to imagery from Proto-Tibetan cultures, Southeast Asian art traditions, and even shamanic iconography. However, Bronze Age motifs from Central Asia also show parallels, but these comparisons are controversial. Mainstream Chinese scholars resist linking Sanxingdui to external cultures, as it would suggest broader cultural exchange than officially recognized, or that China had multiple cradles of civilization rather than just the Yellow River. Both interpretations disrupt traditional narratives. Another taboo subject, the shamanic interpretation. Many masks feature exaggerated eyes, large, bulging, tubular. Some anthropologists suggest they depict trance states, spiritual visions, or altered consciousness experienced by priests or shamans. Associating ancient China with shamanic religions is politically uncomfortable, so the official explanation remains conservative, ritual masks, nothing more. But Sanxingdui's cosmology is not simple. It is multi-layered, stratified, and filled with mythological symbolism that Chinese textbooks rarely discuss. Their worldview forces us to ask a question many find uncomfortable. How many chapters of early East Asian religion have been erased? When Sanxingdui disappeared, where did its people go? The answer may lie just 50 kilometers away. In the early 2000s, construction workers in Chengdu uncovered another site, Jinsha, filled with gold, jade, ivory, and bronzes strikingly similar to those at Sanxingdui. The artistic continuity is undeniable. The iconography is shared. Even the gold masks appear nearly identical. This suggests the people of Sanxingdui did not die, they moved. But why abandon a flourishing kingdom? 4 theories dominate. Environmental collapse. If the Min River shifted, the area may have become uninhabitable. Yet would that justify burning and breaking sacred objects? Religious transformation. The destruction in the pits may signal a massive religious transition, perhaps orchestrated by priest kings. Political upheaval. Some believe relocation followed a power struggle or coup. The bronze masks, symbols of authority, may have been destroyed to erase the previous dynasty. Strategic withdrawal. Perhaps Sanxingdui relocated due to political instability, merging with other regional cultures to eventually become part of the historical Shu kingdom. Whatever the reason, the migration theory explains one thing clearly. The civilization did not end. But without its monumental city, its identity gradually dissolved into newer cultures, leaving artifacts but no names, faces but no stories. This chapter requires honesty. In mid-20th century, Chinese archaeology, political ideology shaped interpretation heavily. Discoveries were expected to support a unified narrative. Chinese civilization developed continuously from the Yellow River heartland. Sanxingdui contradicted this in multiple ways. It was highly advanced, culturally distinct, and showed no clear connection to the Shang or Zhou dynasties. Most troubling of all, it suggested China had multiple, parallel centers of civilization. For decades, little information was published. Some early discoveries went unarchived. Scholars who argued Sanxingdui represented a separate civilization faced professional consequences. The site was omitted from textbooks. Exhibitions remained low profile in museums. Interpretations were tightly controlled. Only as political tensions eased in the 1980s and 1990s did Sanxingdui begin receiving the attention it deserved. Yet even today, certain topics remain sensitive. Foreign influence, lost civilizations, non-Yellow River origins, alternative cosmologies, and the political independence of ancient Sichuan states. Sanxingdui complicates the historical narrative modern China wants to tell. And history, when inconvenient, is sometimes softened, simplified, or pushed to the margins. When archaeologists discover a lost civilization, two theories inevitably emerge. Someone taught them. They developed it all themselves. Sanxingdui is no exception. Some artifacts resemble motifs found across Eurasia, the exaggerated eyes, the ornate headdresses. This has sparked speculation about connections to Indo-European cultures, the Indus Valley, Mesopotamian traditions, and Central Asian shamanism. But these connections remain tentative and controversial. The competing theory, heavily promoted by Chinese scholars, emphasizes indigenous innovation. Sanxingdui was an independent Bronze Age culture with its own religious beliefs, artistic style, and technological foundation. Both theories carry political implications. The foreign influence theory undermines narratives of Chinese cultural purity. The indigenous genius theory strengthens national heritage but struggles to explain the technological leaps. The truth likely lies somewhere between. Sanxingdui probably engaged in long-distance trade and cultural exchange, but its core identity was indigenous and self-developed. What remains clear is this. Regardless of their inspiration, the people of Sanxingdui were not imitators. They were innovators. And their genius still puzzles us today. Deep within the sacrificial pits, archaeologists discovered one of the most puzzling artifacts in Chinese history. A three-faced bronze mask. 3 sets of eyes. 3 expressions. 3 gazes looking in different directions. What did it represent? The official interpretation is cautious. It may depict a deity or a symbolic representation of omniscience. Unofficial interpretations go deeper. Some scholars suggest this mask symbolizes a three-faced god, a deity with vision into past, present, and future. Others say it represents a shaman or priest whose authority spanned multiple spiritual realms. A different theory proposes it depicts a divine ruler or king who required 3 faces to oversee his subjects. But the artifact's true significance is this. In many ancient religions, triple-faced deities are associated with forbidden knowledge, esoteric rituals, shamanic transformations, supernatural sight, and divine kingship. The early Chinese religion presented in official history does not align with such concepts. So, the mask is displayed, but barely interpreted, an object too powerful in symbolism to be easily explained. To analyze it properly, one must question everything we think we know about the spiritual world of ancient Shu. Sanxingdui was not a minor culture on the periphery of ancient China. It was a powerful, wealthy, technologically advanced kingdom, whose existence challenged everything the Shang and Zhou dynasties wanted the world to believe. And that is precisely why its memory was erased. Chinese civilization has long been portrayed as having a single origin, the Yellow River. One dynasty, one lineage, one story. But Sanxingdui was evidence of something far more complex. Another center of power well outside the Central Plains. One with its own gods, its own rulers, its own cosmology, and its own bronze industry that rivaled the Shang. This alone created a problem, a political one. The Shang and Zhou dynasties constantly competed to legitimize their rule. They claimed divine mandate, divine lineage, divine authority. But what if another civilization existed equally powerful, equally divine that lay outside their control? One that did not submit to the Shang, one that did not recognize the Zhou, one that built monumental bronze trees and masks, with eyes that stared into eternity. The existence of such a kingdom would threaten the official story. It fractured the concept of a single cradle of civilization. And in ancient politics, a rival seat of power was not just inconvenient, it was dangerous. This is where the silence begins. Sanxingdui is mentioned in no Shang documents. No Zhou chronicles record its kings. Not even a reference to an enemy state in the southwest. For such a large, elaborate, wealthy culture, this silence is unnatural. It does not suggest absence, it suggests erasure. The Zhou dynasty, in particular, practiced a strategy called Shumi, the destruction of written memory for conquered states. Records burned, names erased, genealogies obliterated. It was a silence that could kill a civilization. And as the Zhou expanded toward Sichuan, that silence enveloped ancient Shu. The archaeology deepens the mystery further. The artifacts in the sacrificial pits were not simply abandoned. They were burned, broken, shattered, melted intentionally. This was not invasion or natural disaster, but systematic destruction. the kind performed in a ritual display of power or following a political overthrow, a purification of dynastic symbols, an erasure of identity. The people of Sanxingdui may have destroyed their own sacred items upon departure, but the precision with which it was done suggests otherwise, the annihilation of a legacy. This pattern continued in later dynasties. The Qin burned books, the Han rewrote myths, imperial historians removed, altered, or distorted stories repeatedly to serve political unity. The early kingdoms of Sichuan were absorbed, their histories rewritten, their local deities either replaced or incorporated into new narratives. Sanxingdui was erased so thoroughly that by the time modern archaeology rediscovered it in 1929, even China, a civilization obsessed with documentation, had forgotten an entire Bronze Age kingdom. Sanxingdui did not simply disappear. It was made to vanish. Its gods forgotten, its kings unnamed, its achievements unrecognized, and its cosmology buried deep in the earth. The erasure succeeded for 3,000 years, until a farmer's shovel struck a jade blade and the silence broke. The truth is simple. Sanxingdui was not lost to time. It was hidden by human hands. And now, piece by piece, the earth is returning what ancient scribes worked so hard to conceal. Even after decades of careful excavation, most of Sanxingdui remains untouched. While pits 1 and 2 yielded thousands of bronzes, jade, and gold artifacts, ground-penetrating radar surveys reveal massive, unexcavated structures beneath the soil, waiting to be uncovered. These scans suggest large sacrificial platforms still buried under meters of earth, extensive foundations that might reveal urban planning far beyond current assumptions, and possible storage chambers, workshops, or even underground tunnels connecting distant sites. Local archaeologists call them ghost cities beneath the surface, a civilization written in layers, strata of knowledge waiting to be revealed. But access is strictly regulated. In many areas, government policy restricts excavation under the rationale of preservation. Some archaeologists whisper that discoveries may come too quickly, forcing a rewriting of Chinese history, threatening narratives of continuity and cultural development. The fear is real. What Sanxingdui might reveal could contradict everything written in textbooks. And so, beneath the Sichuan earth, the city sleeps silent, patient, waiting for the moment it will be seen. Sanxingdui is not just a place, it is a living riddle. What we know: a kingdom that achieved extraordinary artistic and technological accomplishments. Advanced metallurgy capable of creating bronzes larger and more intricate than anything else in China at that time. Sacred bronze trees and ritual masks, suggesting a highly developed cosmology, evidence of sophisticated communication, urban planning, and complex religious ceremonies. What we don't know: the language they spoke, the myths and stories that organized their culture, the names of their kings and priests, the fate of their people. Every excavation, every artifact, every fragment points to a civilization as complex as Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, or ancient Egypt, but one that left no written record. This is Sanxingdui's haunting legacy, a civilization that advanced humanity's understanding of its own history, yet vanished almost entirely from time. Its story reminds us that civilizations can fall, knowledge can be lost, and even the most sophisticated societies are not immune to oblivion. Sanxingdui is a warning to the human race. Nothing lasts forever, and no truth survives unchanged. We arrive at the final truth. While Sanxingdui's city fell silent thousands of years ago, the civilization refuses to die. Its people may be lost, but their bronze faces endure. Its kings, priests, and artisans may have vanished, but the echo of their innovation resonates through the earth. Its religion and cosmology may have been nearly erased, but its symbols and sacred trees remain, waiting to be understood. The site is a monument. It teaches us that memory exists not only in texts, but in objects, landscapes, and symbols. That unwritten history can run as deep as any chronicle. That human creativity, ingenuity, and devotion can outlast the individuals who created them. The sun sets over Sichuan, and the land absorbs the last of the gold light. Archaeologists pack their equipment, tourists return home, and the ancient winds blow across the pits. And beneath the ground, the kingdom sleeps, silent, patient, unforgotten. Sanxingdui's story is not what has been found, but what remains unanswered. Tonight, the kingdom rests beneath the Sichuan soil, but its bronze faces stare out at us, reminding us that history is never finished. Mysteries endure, and civilizations live not in books, but in the legacy they leave behind. As one archaeologist once said, "Sometimes the earth remembers even when people forget." And tonight, Sanxingdui remembers.